It's a little bit strange lecture today, as from one point of view, it was planned very in short term. Like only yesterday, I decided that I will have time to conduct this lecture. And well, we thought that most of the participants has written to Olga saying that they will be unable to be present on the lecture. And so we were delaying it and delaying, and then it's finally there are 2 people here. Well, my plan for today's lecture is to give the final information about the application and of EPI GDV data in the sphere of environmental studies. And so the big part I wanted to devote to the questions of the participants from the previous lectures and from this one also, as some people said that they will prepare questions. So, but as long as we have only 2 people here present, and Narinit and Giselle, good evening to Narinit and good morning for Giselle. And so I hope that you will have some questions, but if not, then it will be the shortest lecture from all that I have given. So we are going to study today the approach to the scientific study, scientific research of the interaction of the human being and the environment. So I've explained in the previous lecture about the Sputnik and how it appeared, what we have done, what kind of research have been done until now, how it appeared, and how we came to this technology. So let's now discuss the real application of this technology, because besides the scientific research and scientific interest, there can be also some real interest that like in how it can be applied in real life. So we finished in the previous lecture with the data that I've showed about measurements with Sputnik in spaces that are free from anybody. So there's nobody in the room, and we are not measuring emotions of the people present in the room. So it appeared that data that EcoTest or Bio-Well together with Sputnik gives in conditions when there is closed space, nobody in the room, and the data, the signal is different for different environment, for different places. So, and we have made a lot of research by measuring different places in different parts of the world, in many places in my city, in St. Petersburg, and it led to the creation of a new approach to the studies of the interaction between human and the environment, because there are many cases when we have some problems with our health that are dependent not only on our lifestyle, but depends also on the place where we live or where we work. So if you recall the first lecture that I've been given, there I've mentioned that our health depends on like 15% on the environment in which we live, in which we work. So these conditions also affect us. So about the approach. So take a look at the presentation now. So we all understand that life in big cities is a mess and big stress because first of all, we were not been made for such life and for such conditions. And of course, all the conditions in which we live and work creates more and more stress. So it builds up and then it leads to some chronic disorders. So, of course, life in megalopolis, in big cities, is stress. And we all know such factors like air pollution, like electromagnetic smoke, like increased radioactivity in the solid in buildings, and etc. etc. Yeah, 8 million people for Bogota. Yeah, so nothing beautiful there really, except those services that we can get in the big cities. So, and most of us, after a hard working day, return in such state, with, like we can say, in a low battery mode, when we don't need anything, we don't want anything. The only thing that we think of is to eat and to sleep. So the question is how to deal with such conditions. So of course, all of us wants to restore the energy when they return back home. So it means like when you're sleeping at home, you are not like being leaned into a socket, and then your energy reserves will start refilling. So it will go up while you're at home. But how do you know that exactly your home won't create even more stress in comparison that you have got during the day at your working place? Of course, we all want to be like this on next morning after we slept at home, to be able to conduct our work at very high efficiency, high production rate. So how to do that? So let's imagine that it is possible to create such conditions at your home that it will lead and it will facilitate your energy restoration while you're at home. So how to do that? Of course, our state depends on health and on environment. So at this exact lecture, we think about find correlations between these factors with health and environment. Because this one scheme I was explaining in the first lecture about the lifestyle, what we eat and what we drink, about the medical system in the country or in the city where we live, about the environmental conditions, and about the genetics. Well, of course, now we are talking about what we can do with this exact part and how we can study it. So for environmental studies, we take into consideration several parameters. First of all, ecological parameters. So you probably know those like electromagnetic fields, like static and altering, static, electric, or magnetic field. Then video ecology. Well, of course, in ecological, there's air composition, level of ionization of air, then like radioactivity, the infra ultrasounds, so acoustics. All of these parameters are affecting us. Next one, video ecology. Well, I call it video ecology here, but well, probably you've heard that, for example, in Vastu and Feng-Shui. Well, Feng-Shui is Chinese system, Vastu is Indian system. So Indian system, Vastu is a little bit older, but it doesn't matter. They both systems, both of these systems are studying the interaction of human being and the environment. And most of them take into consideration the video ecology. So it is talking about the effect of colors, of light, and of textures and forms on a human being. Well, first of all, these factors affect us through the vision, through the eyesight. So it's a big question about how these things affect us if we don't see them. So those Feng Shui specialists are saying that starting from the moment you know that something is there, it starts affecting you, even if you don't see it. Just by some means, if you feel it, it affects you. Another thing, geopathic zones. Well, it's very popular thing, and there are a lot of talks about this, but still in many scientific circles, it is not really treated properly. First of all, because there are no strict definitions of what it is. And if you read several books of several authors about geopathic stress or geopathic zones, you will see that there are different definitions there. And they're talking about different types, and they're giving different understanding of what it is. So, and sometimes they don't even correlate with each other. So, but anyway, we should take into consideration that there are some places on Earth, like probably you have heard about the ley lines on the Earth, or some specific spots where the parameters are not the same as in normal places, so-called normal places. Yeah, Hartmann and Corey lines, yes, they are. But still, there are many different studies made on these lines, but still, the most reproducible results with these lines are through the biolocation. When there is a person with roads trying to detect them. And I haven't seen strict scientific proof of existence of these Hartmann and Corey lines. Still, whilst there are abundance of different equipment, like our Sputnik as one of them, still it's a big question about proving if it exists or not. But still, people can observe and see that there are places on Earth where living material, like living beings, are not feeling good. So that's a question about how to detect this, and we have our own approach that I will explain now, and it is called activity level of space or activity level of environment. So what it is, it is based on the measurements with the EcoTest or Bio-Well now, that with Sputnik antenna, where you can put the device with the antenna, with the Sputnik on some specific point and make a long-term test. And then study the variability of the signal in time. So you can see that in one places variability is higher, in some places it is lower, etc. So it means that we can try to understand, to make proper interpretation of this data, because until present moment, most of the people that are using EcoTest or Bio-Well with the Sputnik antenna attachment, the main problem for them is how to make interpretation of the data, because, well, sorry, they make the graph, they calculate the parameters, but then yes, the graph goes somewhere, it goes up or down or something changes, but what does it mean? So by making a lot of tests, I have came to such a formula, like activity level of space or activity level of environment is measure of the overall variability of all physical and chemical and structural characteristics of space environment in time. So it means it gives you quantitative analysis of what is going on in time. So it means that if you have a signal, then you can calculate it and get the specific value that will explain you what does this mean, the graph that you've got. So how do we analyze it? So I like to apply logic. Well, I am a technician, so I like logics. So whenever you do any measurement, it doesn't matter what kind of measurement you make. You won't get a straight line. In any way, there are going to be some oscillations. Well, it's not obligatory that it will be like this, like harmonic oscillations like we see on this graph. It can be in any form, even chaotic like this. So, but anyway, it won't be smooth line, so it will have some variability. So let's make such a decision that when we have high variation, it is high activity of space or environment. When we have low variation, it is low activity. Well, to my mind, it's logical. So it's when the signal is changing in time very slowly, or the variation is very low, then it's low activity. When it's very high, it's high activity. So this is the baseline. Oops, camera is start. Yeah. So main thing now is, how do we know the norms here? How do we calculate them? First of all, yes, that's the main question. Good or bad? We all always start to treat everything in such terms like it is good or it is bad. So main thing here is that good for what and or bad for what, and good or bad for whom. So again, let's apply logic. So let's imagine that there are conditions, so the corridor of norm, in which a human being is feeling itself normal, good, not too much stress, comfortable. So then this is the corridor of normal activity, this one in the middle. Then let's imagine that this parameter, the activity level space, or activity level environment, can go higher or can go lower. What it will mean? First of all, this corridor of norm is connected with the, let's say, metabolic activity, the speed of the processes in our body. So it means that it's like if it's hot temperature outside, then your body will increase the temperature too. It will be heated, and the metabolic activity or activity of different systems in your body will be activated. For example, you will be sweating intensively to reduce the temperature. So your endocrine, the suppression system, will be activated. So it means that high levels of activity of the external environment leads to high metabolic activity in your body, or high activity of some of the systems in your body. It means that we always try to adjust, to adopt to the conditions in which we are now. So for example, maybe you have felt yourself that there are places, there are houses, there are flats where you enter and you feel very good there. Even not understanding why, but you feel that everything is fine there. And you feel comfortable there, relaxed, etc. And there are places that you enter and you feel stressed. Even that there are nobody in the room, even, you can feel stress. Yeah, of course, metabolics play a big role in human activity, because, well, overall metabolic, well, all the processes that are going on in your body of production of the energy, of saving energy, consuming energy, storing energy, etc. That's all metabolic processes. Well, like processing of something in your body. So it means that when you have high metabolic activity, then you have high energy production rate. If you have low metabolic activity, then it means that you have low energy production rate. So of course, for example, when you enter some places, some rooms, and you feel that stressed, even that there is nothing there, but you feel it, it means that it somehow affects you. Then another thing is that this process is going both sides. You can affect the space, and the space can affect you only. So it means that depending on your characteristics, on your abilities, either you will adjust the space to your needs, either the space will adjust, the environment will adjust you and your characteristics to its state. So there are people that are saying that for them it doesn't matter. They can transform any place to such a condition that it will be suitable for everybody. Well, like there are people like specialists in those geopathic zones. They're saying that they will come and transform the space and it will be perfect for anyone. And so it means that there are people who can transform the space, and there are people who are like, some people are objects, some are subjects. So some of them are just being affected and they cannot do themselves anything. They have only to select the place where to be, and other people can change something, and then it's up to them if they want to spend the energy on for those changes or not. So in this case, when you enter the room, for example, I'm working on here in the office. I'm sitting on my working place. So let's imagine that the level of activity here is low, and it is not enough to create enough energy for me to work effectively. So I'm a little bit dizzy, always wanting to sleep or wanting to eat or drink, etc., etc. Well, yeah, I want to drink. As I'm speaking a lot, I need to drink water constantly. So then in such place, my productivity will be very low. So I will be going to office and simply imitating work. So maybe you know these conditions, maybe you've felt them yourself in some places. Maybe you know people who are going to their working places and doing this, just imitation, or simply being dizzy, sleepy always. It means that, like, yeah, well, we will come to this question, Natalie, but question is absolutely correct about the bedrooms and working places, of course. So it means that in a working place, you need activity level to be higher, so it will suit the functions that you need to fulfill there. But of course, the level of activity shouldn't be the same on a working place and in the sleeping bed room, in your bedroom. So, for example, if you go to a place where the activity level is very high and intensive, and you want to take rest there, it will be almost impossible for you, because your body will be activated constantly and you will be lying on your bed, watching on the ceiling and thinking when I will get asleep, but you will not, because your body is active, everything is hyperactive. So instead of relaxing, you're under the stress. So, well, yeah, some of such things are familiar for some of you. For some of you, it's more familiar the hypoactive. For some of you, more familiar is hyperactive spaces. But anyway, this one thing about the interaction is that you can affect the space also yourself, And of course, there are some people on Earth, even now in Kali Yuga, in our like dark age, that are capable of transforming the space energy. And maybe you have met such people that can transform the energy of the room or of some closed space, doesn't matter what space, when they enter this room. Just by entering it, they transform completely the space, and all the people that are in this room feel it. And of course, maybe sometimes you felt that if somebody very angry is entering the room, you can feel it also, like such person is transforming the state of the room. So, but by thinking this, we should understand that anyway, you have to, when you enter, for example, a low activity space, and you need to work there, you need to activate it, the space, either by your own forces, by wasting your own energy. But so anyway, you have to do something to transform the space. Either you have to activate yourself and by using more and more energy to be able to work even in such conditions. So well, some people are drinking a lot of coffee, like cup after cup, just to keep their level of stress at the proper level. So let's imagine that for you, when you enter a room, you can either waste your energy on increasing your activity level to the needed level and also increasing the level of activity of the environment where you are. Either you have already prepared the room so it will be having the proper activity level, so you will feel comfortable there and you won't need to waste your inner reserves on transforming the space. So the space is the room is already ready for you. So that's the idea. So another thing that we are all different. We all know that there are some norms that are, for example, for different parameters, and for ourselves there are corridors of norms, etc. But we should know that young cholerics, well, you probably know those psychological types: cholerics, phlegmatics, sanguinic. Who is this fourth one? I don't remember. So cholerics are the most active. Phlegmatics are less active. So, of course, for old phlegmatic people, they don't need very high activity. They don't need spaces to be very, very active, to be like boiling. They need places where everything is calm, moving slowly, nothing is happening too fast, etc. So they need places with lower activity level. But if we take young cholerics that are very active, they always need to move to do something. For them, you need other place where the activity level will be higher. So in those places, they will feel more comfortable. So it means that even that we have this corridor of norm in the middle, for each person, depending on the properties, the characteristics of the nervous system, etc., you need to know those characteristics to understand what kind of space and environment such person needs to be able to work, to be able to sleep, so relax and restore the energy. So, and let's imagine that we are entering the place or where the activity level is too high. Even for a young choleric person, it's too high. What does it mean? It means that the metabolic activity in our body will be too high also, and it will be wasting our inner energy too fast. So what it will lead to, after a short time interval, such person will feel him or herself exhausted because he or she will waste all the inner reserves and need to restore them. So the exhaustion comes very fast. So such places are not good for people. Maybe for some short-term activities, very high active doings, but in most cases that's not useful. Another thing is when the level of activity of space is too low, so it's passive, hypoactive. It means in such place all your metabolic activity goes down. And together with this activity, you also feel that your energy reserves being not used, you're simply getting asleep. So in such places, there are only two thoughts are coming to your head. One thought is to eat, and second one is to sleep. Well, I've been to such places myself, and I can say that when you, even if you are very, very active before entering such a place, and you have a lot of ideas, thoughts, and inspirations, at the moment you enter this place, all your activity goes down, and you don't want anything. No ideas, no inspirations, no art, nothing. You just like zero creativity. The main idea that comes to your head is that you need to eat and then you need to sleep. That's it. So I don't know if you have been to such places, to such apartments or to such houses, but it happens. So question number one is that it is possible somehow by studying the space or by studying the person to detect it, such conditions. And question number two is what to do. If you have read the lines about explaining what we're going to discuss on this lecture, is exactly these two. Is how to detect, it's number one, and what to do is number two. So some examples. So how do we know these norms? How do we know where this normal activity corridor is? Well, my idea was that the main role is for human here. It means that everything should be relative to a human being, exact, some exact person. So what I started measuring bedrooms and measuring people in these bedrooms. So what I made is that I was measuring this activity level of space and calculating it for the bedroom, for the exact place where the person sleeps at night. And then I was measuring person's characteristics and person's state with the use of EPI GDV right before person getting asleep and right after waking up. So it was like half an hour before getting asleep and half an hour after waking up. And then comparing the functional state of the person, energetic state of the person, before and after sleeping. So here are 4 cases. So case number 1 is activity level space is like 22, close to 20. Number 2 is 38, it's closer to 40. Number 3 is closer to 70, and number 4 is higher than 80. So I measured these bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. And then I measured people before getting asleep. So this percent was calculated energy level as a difference between with and without filter. So it's like if the images on EPI GDV without filter are equal to those with filter, it means 100%. But in most cases, under the stress, we use our energy, and without filter is lower than with a filter. So you see that before getting asleep, these 4 people were more or less okay. In first case, it was closer to 80% energy level, like 3 case 2, 3, and 4 near 60. And what happened with them when I measured them in the morning? So I've taken 3 main parameters in EPI GDV that can explain the state of the person. It is area, the amount of pixels of the globe, the area of the images for all 10 fingers. The form coefficient is the structure, how smooth and homogeneous is the globe. So the lower the form coefficient, the better the state it is. The higher the form coefficient, the worse the state is. And then the third one is symmetry. Well, the symmetry is the basic parameter. In Bio-Well, it's called balance between left hand and right hand. So balance between 2 parts. So we can see that for the first case, we remember that in first case, the activity level space was 20. That person has waken up with minus 50% of area, plus 80% difference of form coefficient, and minus 30%, almost minus 30% for balance, for symmetry. So it means that after sleeping, person wakes up in worse state than he was before getting asleep. The question is what he was doing during the night. Was he sleeping or not? That's strange if we spend all night sleeping, but then we wake up in such a bad state. It means that's something wrong. FC is form coefficient. Form coefficient, once again, is the parameter that analyzes the structure of EPI images, electrophotonic images that we get in Bio-Well. Okay, that's clear, yeah? Okay. So what's next? That's the first case. Second one case is almost zero difference in area, almost the minus 20% in form coefficient. That's good. Plus 10% in balance and symmetry. That's also good. But it means that this is normal place, so it's positive results, not so big, but positive for this person. Okay, so the third case is when the activity level was closer to 70, is plus 10% in area, minus 45% in form coefficient, and plus 10% in symmetry. So in this case, we see that it's very good place for this person and it gives a positive result. So it means after waking up, person feels much better than before. That's a good case. So it means person is restoring energy through the night. And then the fourth case, when the activity level is closer to 80, there is zero difference in area, no statistically significant difference in form coefficient, but it's a little bit going up, increasing, and decreasing of symmetry. So in overall, that's closer to zero or even a little bit negative result. So what to do in such case? We see that depending on the activity level of space, we have a different reaction of a person on sleeping in such a space. So by doing such tests, by measuring different people in their bedrooms before getting sleep, after getting sleep, and measuring the bedrooms themselves, depicted those norms. So of course these norms are like preliminary, and maybe they will be more refined afterwards and more accurate. But it's still under the process of research, and that's why there's a lot of interest in Sputnik and doing such tests, because that's an interesting thing to do, to know these things. So by doing such tests, I found these norms where which numbers should be here and here. Well, I would say truly that at the present moment, only I know how to calculate this ALS parameter, and there is not yet any software being made that can calculate this automatically. Well, possibly we will add this functionality to the Bio-Well software after a while. Well, I'm still thinking about that. Now, anyway, that's possible to calculate these parameters. And how we apply this is that we can study space characteristics, and you remember ecological parameters, electromagnetic fields, electric and magnetic static, the acoustics, the radioactivity, the properties of air, and activity level of space too. And we can study human characteristics and then compare between each other and try to do something by influencing on the space. That's one solution. Or by influencing on a human being. That's another solution. So it's up to you how to do that. You can use one, you can use two, or you can use both at a time. Then by doing this, applying these kind of influences, you can create a house that will heal you. That's the main idea here. So that's in general how this can be applied, and I will explain in more details about this approach in the second half of the lecture. But anyway, do you have any questions regarding the first part? Those who are here, Narinit and Giselle. Okay. Well, Narinit, and any questions from your side? Just if you don't have questions, just type that you don't have them. Okay, so I will be sure. So about Feng Shui, well, you see that there is some knowledge lying beside it. So is it real or not? There are a lot of people talking about it. So from my perspective, I cannot say that I'm like 100% sure in it. And my idea is to apply some specific instruments that can help using measuring space, measuring the human being to see the differences. But according to the experiments that I've made by this moment, what I know is that to my mind, the Feng Shui is working on some other level. It's not working really functioning on some materialistic, on this physical level. According to the definitions that I've read about Feng Shui and Feng Shui techniques, is that it's like being lucky in some series of life, but this being lucky is not measurable, you know, and it's not scientific at all. So from my perspective, that's like, if you believe in it, that's okay. If you don't, that's also okay. But well, it's better to rely on it if you believe in it, and not rely on it if you don't trust it. Because if you don't trust it, from my perspective, it won't work for you. Something like that. But to my mind, there are some parts of even in Feng Shui and Vastu that can be somehow registered or measured. So, and I'm thinking of doing tests that will allow to measure the influence of changes in the space. Because in Vastu and Feng Shui, there are some laws and rules that are explaining also the things about the colors, forms, and textures in the apartment. And we all know that colors affect the person. And so from this point of view, it should work. Another thing is that they're calculating some others very subtle things that, to my mind, are non-measurable. So, and I'm not touching this at all, and I'm not even interested in that as long as um, I cannot do this. I can't measure this. About dowsing, as I said, that this is biolocation. The main problem with biolocation and dowsing is that when you try to do this, apply this dowsing, um, you have to trust the person that is dowsing, the dowser. If you fully trust the person, then it's okay, because there is no verification. You cannot really verify the results that dowser gives you. So it means it's very specialist dependent. So it means, well, I can explain it in such terms that it's impossible to register or patent a dowsing method, but it's possible to patent some specific dowser with some specific rods, because specific dowser with specific rods can give some accuracy of results. But as long as you give the same rods to other person that is not trained, or etc., or is not so sensitive, or you won't get the same reproducibility and same accuracy. That's the main problem with dowsing. So if you know the person that you're absolutely rely on, and that you know that he is not dependent on the mood and state that he is in at the present moment, then it's okay. But as I know, most of dowsers are also human beings, and depending on their mood, they can give different results. Well, so they can be more sensitive or less sensitive depending on in which state they are, emotional, psycho-emotional state they are. And they are not so reliable to my mind. So that's why I work more with the machines and different devices. But of course, you can do the same things with dowsers, and do these measurements, and maybe just use these parameters that dowsers give for scientific studies. That's what I do. I work with dowsers here also, and I'm conducting studies when dowsers are depicting some places, and then they're saying just please measure here and let's compare the results that your device will give. So, but it's still under research, so a lot of experiments should be done, because it's not so stable even with our devices. So even they don't give high reproducibility, not 100%, but they give some, and they're more reliable because they don't have any mood or psycho-emotional state, so they work stable. So let's make a small break for 5, maximum 10 minutes, and then we'll return back to the next part. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Are you here? Okay, ready. So, briefly, I will show you the next parts. How do I apply this approach in my practice? And what kind of things I do myself and what I do recommend to people, etc. What kind of research I'm doing, and just explaining it will explain you how possibly you can do in the same way at your city. Okay, so now I will be sharing the desktop. So I will switch off my video. Okay, so exit, change. Okay, let's try once again. Yes. Okay. So can you see my desktop now? Yep. Okay. So this is called a Wisdom system. So I'm working on this system together with the Orsi Institute in London. Well, they like to call it scientific Feng Shui. So it is an approach of creation auspicious living environment for human being based on conjunction of all the correlated spheres of knowledge basing on scientific research. So it means that we try to combine the ecology, health, psychology, design, and possibly Feng Shui, if there is something that can apply here, with the scientific approach. So if we're talking about psychology, it means that we're measuring something. So we get some reliable data. If we're talking about ecology, we're measuring something. If we're talking about health, we're measuring some exact parameters. If we're talking about design, that's also some strict things. So this all integral approach is scientific measure. So I have already explained to you that at the present moment, the ecology in 21st century is due to the growth of population and to low quality of air in most cities. And I've told you that doctors are unable to solve the issues without knowledge about living environment, and they are not taking into consideration this part at all. There is another part that most of the people doesn't pay attention to the condition of the environment. So it means that they don't even bother about it. But second level of this problem is that even those people who pay attention, they don't have enough information to solve the problems. It means that there's so much information in internet that it's very hard to accumulate all the knowledge about it. Still, there are some organizations trying to somehow integrate these topics: ecology, health, psychology, design, and possibly Feng-Shui. So, aggressive city environment has very bad influence on a human being, but not many people know that this is a problem. So we try to attract this attention of people to these problems, and we try to offer the scientifically provable, proven and understandable solutions. So you probably have heard about the psycho design. So like aligning the design and psychology. So it's or interior therapy when designers measures by using some um, tests people and defining their psychotype. Wait a second. So, and then depending on the psychotype they have defined, they are advising some or specific design. So it's like for this type of people, you need very bright colors and high contrast colors like black and white, and very acute forms and in the interior design. And for some people you need very soft colors and very soft round corners, etc. So that's the approach. There is also like eco design. It is design based on using ecological materials. So also people, or most of such people, are thinking that if you use only wood, then it's already in eco design and it's everything is perfect for a person to live there. But of course, it's a big deal to live in a building without excessive radiation. Of course, that's good. Because according to the ecological norms, and any building, solid building, well, in big cities that are made from even bricks, the radioactivity is higher than on the street near this building. So there are other approaches that are trying to um, integrate the psychology of the person with the uh, design of building. But main thing here is that they don't use some specific instruments. They are relying on the person's opinion about themselves. So it's like when you are filling the questionnaire, you are answering what you think about yourself, whilst it can be very, very far from true. It's like what you are can be absolutely different from what you think you are. So it means that how can you rely on such data then in depicting the design, etc., in the environment? But anyway, those approaches are living, they're being used in some countries. There is also environmental psychology. So something like that. And even there is a big society of environmental psychologists. But it's more because of non-measurability of these things that's difficult to really develop these spheres. So let me explain how the process that we are using here works. So, for example, a person has problems with sleep, so needs to know what to do. Of course, in order to find out if the problem is on the side of the environment or where he sleeps, or the problem is on the side of the person, him or herself, you need to study both. So, number one, we apply the express analysis of glance characteristics. So we study the functional state, we study the nervous system properties, and see the production and consumption energy balance. So we analyze the problem from the side of a human being. Number two, we analyze the ecological parameters in the bedroom. Electromagnetic fields, radiation, noise, infrasound, activity level of space, environment, level of ionization in the air, and chemical composition of the air. So by doing this complete set, we know much more about this environment exactly. So here, number three is what can we then recommend to a person? Number one, we can propose person to change the position of the bed if it's positioned not in a proper place. Number two, we can propose a person to set some air purifying system that will change the quality of air in the bedroom. So, for example, if the quality is not enough, then a person doesn't recover fast enough during the night. So also the problem can be simply in the lifestyle, in the life regime, that person is not going to sleep at the proper time. And number four is that possibly the problem is in the back of the person. That's like some of the vertebrae are not in the correct position, and that it leads to the problems in sleep. So only by applying both approaches at the time, by studying the human being and the environment, we can give more complex, more reliable, and more effective recommendations. So and then you can give more individualized solutions. So I use three methods to assess the human being's human state. The EPI GDV method that you already know. There is one more method that I use is the prognose. This is the method for testing to analyze the highest nervous activity parameters. I have to make a pause for 1 minute, sorry. Okay. So this one system gives the properties of the nervous system of the body, and one of the main parameters there that I take into consideration is the speed of recovery processes in the organism. So it means for some person whose rate of recovery is high, For such person, it's not really a big deal if there's something wrong with the place where he or she sleeps. So anyway, he will be faster recovered. But for example, for a person that has a problem with the rate of recovery and in energy reserves, for such person, you need to create a really auspicious place that will make possible the recovery during the night. And the third one is heart rate variability. So to measure the heart rate and to see the consumption and the production of energy balance. That's also informative part about what is going on with the person, because sometimes it's you can simply lie the person on the bed and put this device on the finger, the HRV device, and see how the process is going on in time. Of course, there are other systems that are available on the market. For example, you can study your, you can track your state by measuring HRV, heart rate variability, during the day. Like there are systems that like hand watch that are measuring these parameters like 48 hours non-stop, and they're storing the data on the um, built-in flash drive memory, and then you can transfer to your computer software and simply then analyze what was going on with your body, with your energy balance during the day. At what times you were restoring energy, at what times you were consuming energy, etc. Well, but such systems are much more expensive. But that's also an interesting thing to track your state during the day, 24 hours. So these, I have already explained to you, these devices that for measuring the ecological parameters, yeah, for measurement of electromagnetic frequencies, for measuring acoustics, for measuring radiation, level of ionization of air, their relative humidity, temperature, and air pressure. And also you can analyze the video ecology, so the light, colors, forms, and textures. So by using this, you can then create designs based on human individual properties. So by analyzing a human being properties and the properties of the environment. Now I will show you, one second, the table that I've created about the activity level of space. One second, I will find this. Okay, one second. I will find the file that I want to share with you to show the table, because of course that's interesting that I was explaining you in the beginning about the activity level of space and how to calculate it and what does it mean. So I'm just I will download it. One second. Okay, here it is. So here is the result of this work. This table is these norms are experimentally derived of activity level of environment parameter. So I have defined 6 types of environments. So number 1 is hypoactive, so geopathogenic stress. Then the next column is the use. How can you use such spaces, and what kind of influence it gives on a person. And here is the number that you will get if you calculate the activity level of an environment according to the formulas that I've derived. So if it's hyperactive and it's geopathogenic stress, that there is no use of such places, it slows down drastically the metabolic activity in the person and sucks the energy. And it's very hard to be in such a place. Second type is with low activity. In such place, it's good to do some kind of meditation. Meditative work is okay, but it's also slowing down the metabolism and calming down the person. And according to my data, that's low activity space is not perfect place for sleeping. Normal activity is the best place to be asleep, to restore the energy, to have leisure time, etc. Because it gives you opportunity to maintain normal functional activity. Fourth type, high activity level. That's good for working places and for doing some sport activities because it activates the metabolism, so you can produce more energy, you can create more. Number 5 is hyperactive. So according to my data, there is no use in such places because it leads to hyperactivation of your inner processes in the body and leads to fast exhaustion of your inner reserves and inner energy. And also there are places like abnormal places. Also, there is no use from my point of view of such places. And first of all, because it leads to a chaotic changes of stress level. And it is very hard for a person to adjust to these chaotic changes. So probably you have heard about those magnetic storms that are coming from the sunbursts, and that's for some people, especially older people, it's a big problem because they cannot adjust to this splash, to these changes in magnetic level, etc. Fast enough, and that's why they feel pain, etc., headaches. Their joints can be aching, etc. And for example, for younger people who can adjust faster, for them that's not a big problem. But anyway, it's very hard to be in an environment where the stress level, the activity level, space level parameter is changing chaotically. So your organism will have to adjust and spend a lot of energy to readjust to each change. So that's why I treat it as useless also spaces. So this is it. Let's return here. These are the main things that I wanted to explain you about the solutions that we propose to people, we are now in the process of collecting them. Most of the solutions that we propose are based on simple studies, like if there is a problem with air condition, no, there are no branches of my personal company. I'm just I have founded it and here in Russia, and I have partners in London, and that's it. So we are working together, and they're helping me with the research. But it's only beginning. Here in Russia, the interest in these ecological things and these environmental studies is very low. So people are not, in most cases, interested in it, and this is only beginning to be to become popular here. So I'm traveling a lot, yes, and I'm inviting people to work because I can give all the methodologies. I can give all the techniques how to do this in your own city, in your own country, and start collecting data there. That's for me, that's an interesting thing. That's at the present moment, it's more like a hobby. It's not a big business really. So, but anyway, that's an interesting way to go. So we are now in the process of selecting those solutions for, like, if there is a problem with the noise in the room or in the house or an apartment, we select some specific materials that can be put on the walls, ceiling, etc. So they will make noise isolation, etc., etc. With the air, we are now the most interesting thing, of course, about how to change the activity level of space. So now we're making tests with some tools, some devices that are produced, well, all over the world, that are meant to be like suppressing geopathic stress, etc. So we are trying to test them with our own devices, because we measure both the environment and the person also. So you're welcome to collaborate. You're welcome to have any to ask any questions regarding this topic, and I thank you all for your attention. If you have any questions, please ask now, and we will conclude. Yes, of course, I can give you my email. I'm writing in the chat. This is my personal email, so you can write there any questions, or if you need any materials, or if you're interested in some collaboration. Well, I know that there are a lot of people now that have Sputnik. So if you want to discuss your own results of measurements, well, that's a separate thing to do, and it takes time really to understand each case. So if you want to discuss these things, welcome. You have to find, you have to catch me in some space-time continuum where I will have time to discuss with you or have a Skype session, etc. Because I'm constantly moving, so and my schedule is constantly changing, but that's possible. If you really want to and you be insisting on that, then finally it will happen. Okay, so thank you all for your attention today, and thank you for coming. I again beg your pardon for um, that we started with such a big delay. Anyway, thank you for being here. I wish you all the best, blessings, and continue studies. Thank you. Bye bye.